Hello everybody, JGC Anime here. Today we are going to be reviewing Tomodachi Game. So let's just hop right into this. So what is Tomodachi Game? The story is about a group of friends called Yuichi Katagiri, Yutori Kogori Gugi, I'm terrible at these names, but Tenji Mikasa, and Shiho Sawaragi, and Makoto Shibe. And this group of friends, after the money from the school that was being used to pay for a school trip went mysteriously missing, the group of friends ended up getting kidnapped and taken to this game called the Tomodachi Game, a game which proves friendships, whether they're fragile or actually really strong. And they have to work as a team to try and get through the game while trying to figure out who among them is a traitor and how many of them are actual legitimate friends. At least that's how it starts. But yeah, so let's just hop right into this. So, some spoiler-free thoughts that I have. Honestly, I am amazed at how much I actually really enjoyed this series. Like, I thought it was going to be incredibly mediocre, because when I heard Tomodachi Game, even though the visuals made it look more like a horror anime than anything else, like it made it look like a horror anime, for some reason, I thought, my brain immediately jumped to this old game I used to play called Tomodachi Life, where you just play with your Miis in this carefree hotel. I don't know why I was about to say hospital for some reason, but in that, when I heard that, my brain was just so confused, but then when I saw the poster and everything, I thought this was gonna be like a horror anime, but it's more psychological than anything else, and I actually really enjoyed that, since I don't enjoy that many psychological anime because the majority of the time they are way too confusing and hard to follow, but for a majority of this anime, I actually followed it pretty well. There were still moments that made me a little confused and honestly made me wonder how the heck this was these things were supposed to be explained, but I still had a very fun time. The ending's a bit more of a mix though, since the ending kind of ends setting up a new type thing that I can't say without spoiling anything that makes it feel like this isn't meant to be the end of the season, but it's still a pretty solid 12-episode season. I really enjoyed the majority of the characters. I weirdly think, as silly as it says, I'm sure a lot of people have said this, but my favorite character probably is Yuichi. Despite having that generic protagonist look that a lot of main characters have in most stories, he is probably the most unhinged of the group, which I can go into about how in the spoiler section, but I thought he was just one of the best characters in the whole show. There were ones I didn't think much about, like Kokogori or Kogori, I guess you could say Kogori. I didn't like her that much. I thought she was a very bland character who kind of just acted as the innocent one that had a not so innocent past, but yeah, I didn't really think much about her. There were a few characters that I thought were really interesting, such as Tenji, and other characters I didn't think anything about, just kind of accepted they were there, such as Shibe. But overall, I just had a very mixed time throughout some of it, but I'd still say I had a very solid time, and I enjoyed it. I'm not afraid to say that, honestly, this is probably one of the most fun animes I've watched in a long time, where I just kind of want to see the main character do whatever he does best. Although, you never know. You never know. Anyway, so yeah, I can't really say anything else without spoiling actual plot details, because I'm not very good at not spoiling, so I'm just gonna hop into the spoiler section. Here's a timestamp to when the spoiler section will come to a close. If you have already watched Tomodachi Game, I'd recommend sticking around to hear my thoughts, but if you haven't, then you should probably skip to the end to hear my final verdict. But I always appreciate when people stick around for the spoiler section. So yeah, we're about to enter the spoiler section. After I count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the interesting thing is actually how I got into this anime. You see, when I got into this, the reason I decided to check out this anime was because a lot of people were comparing Yuichi to one of my favorite protagonists of all time, Ayano Koji from Classroom of the Elite, which I'll have to make a review on that one eventually, where I really like Ayano Koji's whole no-nonsense personality, where he thinks he's been acting all kindness and all this time, but he actually has this dark past, and it seems like that's the same with Yuichi, where a lot of people compare the two of them, so I really wanted to see if Yuichi was as great as Ayano Koji, and I personally think he is Not as amazing as Ayano Koji, because I guess you could say I'm a classroom of the elitist. No, I'm not, actually. I just enjoy the show. I don't love it, but I still liked Yuichi a lot. I thought he was a very, like, interesting type of main character because this may be a weird thing to say, but I actually like when main characters in anime are more cruel and kind of unnerving. Not all the time, but whenever I see characters like Yuichi who suddenly go insane mode, I really enjoy them. My only complaint is just how sometimes he handles things. Like, in the second game, in Tomodachi Game, because this is a multiple game system, he has to work with his friends in like this insult game where they have to reveal secrets about each other. But when they do that, he uses these weird methods that honestly are really impressive to sniff out who among them is the traitor, because who brought them into this game, and it was a really interesting thing, and I'm glad they figured it out instantly. I really like that. But then it comes to the third game, where it's like Yuichi and Tenji, after Tenji is revealed to be the traitor who signed them up for Tomodachi Game, a lot of this other stuff comes in, which I thought was really interesting, such as the character Shiho might be having more of a messed up side than we know of, but she doesn't appear after the second game, so I don't really, well, besides through flashbacks, so I don't really know much about that yet, but hopefully if we get a season 2, we'll be able to dive more into that. And honestly, I kind of keep forgetting Shibe is there. But anyway, moving past that. So one of the things that I did have a weird feeling about was during the third game, when I thought that Yuichi had like this really intricate, like really intense plan to sniff out who the other team's hider was, because the game was hide seek, that one of their team members was a hider on each team. And I thought he was going to come up with like some intricate plan similar to the second game that would have been really impressive. But then it's just like, yeah, no, I got one of their team members on my side and then blackmailed their hider. To some people that might still sound like an impressive plan, but to me that felt like a rather odd decision. Like, I get he's meant to be like a sadistic character, but I felt like that choice was probably one of the most unbrilliant things he's done. Like, when I saw him in both the first and second game, I thought he was one of the most intelligent people in the group. Like, he had a very, like, heavy air about him that made me think, yeah, this guy's definitely going to cause some trouble. And then it's just like, I know it's weird to say, but it was just blackmail for the third game? Like, the third major game? Like, that felt rather cheap. Like, it felt like it was something that really any, like, crazy person can come up with. And I get that Yuichi is meant to be crazy, but I don't know. I just expected a little bit more from how long the storyline was, similar to how Game 2 was such an intense game, and honestly, it's probably my favorite story from this season. And the final storyline, which takes place like in the last episode and a half, is also pretty strong, with Yuichi having Kokori, or I'm just gonna say that, gets kidnapped, and Yuichi has to go in alone to try to save her, and it's also a really good storyline. I still enjoyed everything in this anime, I'll be honest, I really enjoyed it. I definitely find the most interesting characters being Yuichi and Tenji, with the other three just kind of being there. But who knows? Maybe that'll change, because in the next storyline, it's revealed that Yuichi is kind of out of commission for the story, and now Kokorogi and Tenji have to take up the mantle. And I think that's going to be quite interesting. So again, if this series gets a season 2, I'm all for it. Will I pick up the manga? I honestly don't know, because I don't pick up that many manga. I do read a lot of light novels, and I don't know if this has a light novel or not, but I don't know. We'll have to see. I might just wait for the anime to get a season 2, which I hope it gets a season 2, because honestly, I really enjoyed this. I, overall, had a very good time. There weren't any problems I really had with it, and when Yuichi actually went all out and proved how strong he could be when it comes to mentally messing with people, I thought it was pretty good. I really liked his character, and while some of the friends I feel aren't as interesting right now, I'm sure that if I gave them enough time, similar to how I gave Tenji a second chance even after he was revealed to be the traitor, I might find I actually really liked them. So, yeah. So, we're at the conclusion of this video, and what are my final thoughts? I honestly had a very good time watching Tomodachi Game. While not all the characters were super interesting, and while I felt like there were a few storylines that could have been like a little more developed, I still had an amazing time. Like, I still enjoyed the heck out of this series, and I am very glad I sat down to watch it because it was just an amazing time, and I'm really glad that despite my little bit of hesitancy when going in, I still gave it a chance, and I'm glad I did because it was just honestly a really good series, and I don't regret watching it. That's all I really have to say. If there's a season 2, I'm already down for watching it because this was an amazing experience. And maybe I should try to check out a few more psychological anime from time to time. But yeah, that's why, even though I have like a few smaller gripes with it, I give Tomodachi Game a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it, as I mentioned before, and I'm really glad that I decided to check this anime out. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. Thank you all for watching. If you're new to the JGC Anime channel, don't forget to subscribe. I always welcome new anime fans to the channel, and I will see you all around. Peace.